Welcome to Identico After Dark, everybody. How's it going? This is our great streaming podcast where we talk about movies and video games and tabletop games and all kinds of fun stuff. I am, of course, joined tonight by two members of our awesome Chaos Inc. crew, Michael and Kaylee, who have graciously agreed to be on the stream tonight. And we're very much looking forward to hearing their thoughts about Multiverse of Madness and Moon Knight, which is going to be our primary topics tonight. We did our great season finale of Chaos Inc. this last Monday, and I think it went pretty well. I think everybody kind of ended that one in a state of...
It was all right. It went okay.
State of shock. If you'd like to watch that, it will be available on our Twitch channel for a couple more days before that expires, and it should be up on YouTube next Monday. If you're watching this on YouTube after the fact, it should be up on our YouTube channel under the playlists.
It will bring you great joy.
Great joy.
All you have to do is submit. And subscribe.
Submit.
Yes, and also if you're here, sub to our YouTube channel, follow us and sub on Twitch. We really appreciate all the support for everybody. So tonight we're going to talk some Moon Knight. We're going to talk some Multiverse of Madness. And then we might, if we have some time, talk about some of the shows that are coming up very, very soon. But let's get this thing rolling. Kaylee, why don't you kick us off? Let's start with some Moon Knight.
Now, just a quick question on this. Do we want to focus on the end, or we want to talk about the show as a whole?
Let's kind of blanket over the whole series because,
okay.
And this is why I say this. When I watched it, and actually I'm going to go back and watch it again with my spouse because I actually felt it's better as a binge. This is one of those rare ones that I think is better as a binge. I think especially those first couple episodes, it takes a little bit to get into it. But what are your thoughts?
I agree. It was a very slow burn. I knew very little about Moon Knight going in. Mainly, I had a friend who was telling me all these wonderful, chaotic things, like a very murderous ambush bug / Deadpool. And I was just kind of like, okay, well, I want to check this out and see what happens. Oscar Isaac, phenomenal actor, so I was looking forward to that role. And he knocked it out of the park. I'm pretty sure we can all agree on that one. But the first 3 episodes just really laid a lot. They had good action. They really got you into the head of Mark Steven before just everything, the bottom fell out on 4 and it went to 100 miles an hour at that point. And then 5 and then 6. It just kept, the hits kept coming. And I'm hoping they do a season 2, but I've heard rumors now that that's not in the cards. So we'll see what happens.
There's some interesting talk about that, and we'll touch on that later. Michael, what were your overall thoughts?
Well, no surprise to anyone who's listened to me talk about Marvel shows here on Identical After Dark. I absolutely loved it. I again, along with the majority of people that are watching the show, probably thought Oscar Isaac did an amazing job playing not 1, not 2, but 3 roles.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert. And I think that if they don't bring Oscar back to do Moon Knight for a season 2, or at least some kind of cinematic adventure, it's a real tragedy. I feel like the show, I think it started off on all cylinders. I feel like it hit really well. I feel like it didn't start so much slow as it was a good burn. I feel like it was a, I guess it was a slow burn. I'll give you that. The first at least 2 episodes kind of start you in slow. I love that they start with Steven. I love that they move on to, oh yeah, and anybody watching in the chat, there will be spoilers. So just
Big time.
Heads up, we are going to be talking about the shows. And there will be spoilers.
We will warn you before we dive heavy into spoiler territory.
Yeah. That being said, I really enjoyed it. I loved the whole thing start to finish. Everybody in the cast was amazing. Once again, Marvel proves that their casting is chef's kiss.
Top notch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and here's what we're going to start with some minor spoilers. And for those that haven't read the comic books, here's the thing. Moon Knight, and this was one of the concerns going into the show that I had and that I know a lot of people had. Moon Knight in the comic books has dissociative identity disorder. more colloquially known as multiple personality disorder. There was a lot of concern about how they would handle that going in, because movies and film oftentimes don't handle mental health issues well.
What?
So
hang on, I'm going to call somebody about that.
That's seriously, right? First off, and this is just mine, I think they did an okay job with it. And especially as they explained how and where his DID came from, what that trauma was. I thought they were very respectful about the trauma itself. They didn't go too graphic, but they made it clear this is how and why he disassociates. I don't think they made light of it, which was the thing I was worried they were going to do. Kind of to button hook off what Michael and Kaylee are saying. Oscar Isaac did a phenomenal job. I don't know that anybody else that I can think of as a mainstream actor could have played this role.
Well, Mike Myers for sure.
Maybe Mike Myers.
Eddie Murphy.
But they're a little old to be like running around and throwing moon-shaped like blades at people.
True. Very true.
That's what CGI is for.
Yeah, exactly.
I agree with that. I am not an mental health expert. I do not have dissociative identity disorder. But the few people that I know in that arena and people I've seen who have commented on it, who are in that arena and have that role, have that mental illness, have said that, yeah, a lot of like the blackouts are treated exactly how that kind of thing happens. So it's a little glimpse into it, I think. And I think they did it very well. And as you said, very respectfully.
I also liked how they differentiated the Moon Knights based on which personality.
Yep.
Okay. The fact that they made Steven the Mr. Knight character, right? And gave him the like 3-piece suit with like the ski mask, you know, and then Mark was the like ancient Egyptian warrior one. I thought that was really interesting.
The one pity there, and this is a spoiler for the end of the show, so this is where you should plug your ears. And hi, John. I wanted to see Jake's costume. I wanted to see what his representation of Moon Knight was going to be.
We finally see the third identity that he has right at the end of the show, which is the Jake Lockley character, who in the comic books was a taxi driver. So
and a boxer, if I remember correctly, wasn't he?
So we do.
And again, wonderful lead into that part when Mark / Steven wake up in the apartment and they're still tethered.
Yes.
Like that's a great when he goes to move and the tether's still on. I was like, what the hell? And then I was like, oh, just like.
Now, see, did you notice that before that though? I think it was in episode 6, maybe it was in episode 5, when they're running through the halls. Jake actually makes a very short appearance in the white room with, where they're being interviewed, basically.
Oh, the quote unquote asylum episode.
Yeah. Remember, there's one scene where he has a bandage and a cut on his nose. And his voice is very gravelly, and you can tell it's a Midwestern accent because Jake Lockley is from Chicago. And then
I did not catch that.
I didn't either.
And then when Steven and Mark break out of there and are running through the hallway, remember, they find Steven in a sarcophagus. Mark does.
Mm-hmm.
And they come across another room where there's another sarcophagus that's rocking.
Yeah.
And that also, I believe, was Jake Lockley.
Oh my, that is a good catch. I didn't catch that.
Nope.
Yep. Something to watch on your rewatch.
Oh, I got to catch that on the rewatch.
I mean, they give you a really good hint when they have a blackout and neither Mark nor Steven know what the hell just happened.
Oh, toward the end? Yes, the final fight.
Oh no, that was in like episode. That was when they were first in Egypt.
Oh yeah.
No, that was episode. I think it was 5.
Yeah, but they did it again at the very end when he's fighting Harrow. And can we talk about Ethan? So Ethan Hawke not in a lot
yeah.
of
Again,
stuff these days.
amazing.
Okay, I've always really loved Ethan Hawke as an actor. He's one of the leads in one of my favorite sci-fi movies of all time, Gattaca. If you haven't seen Gattaca, go watch Gattaca. It's an amazing
That's
film.
good stuff. Gattaca's good stuff.
I have not seen it.
It's just mind-blowingly good sci-fi.
Okay.
He, for a long time, refused to play bad guys. He did not want to be villains. And it's only in the last year or two, so he's in a horror film called The Black Phone, where he's playing the bad guy. And then here, he's being the bad guy. And I'm like, okay. And he's good at it. Like, he's really, really, like, he chews scenery a lot.
Well, and I loved that, he was Khonshu's avatar for a while, and he basically, he had the great line, it's like, my victory I dedicate to you, old bird, because, yeah, you made him what he is. So that was, and yeah, just the writing was so good, and the acting was so good. Even the Foley was good. Did you guys notice that throughout the entire show, whenever Ethan Hawke is walking, you can hear the crunch of the glass in his sandals?
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, it's a little throwaway in the very first episode.
Let's not neglect Layla.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my
I'm trying to
God.
think of what that actress's name is.
Layla was absolutely amazing. I loved watching every moment she was on screen. Like, she just lit up the screen. She was fun to watch. Definitely very good at her craft. Lovely. Just lovely.
She was such a good highlight to, I mean, I loved her in the first episode we see her, which I think was episode 2. And the way she interacted with Mark at that time, Mark Steven at that time, and how like there was a blossoming romance with Steven. It's like, that was so cool. And then the reveal in episode 6, the costume.
Oh, yeah. And
that moment, I was cheering so hard.
Also, that nice little moment when she's rescuing the people from the van during that last fight. And the one, like, teenage girl there, she's like, "Are you an Egyptian superhero?" She's like, "Yes."
Oh, yeah.
For sure.
It was such a beautiful moment.
I thought it was really well done. The voice work by F. Murray Abraham was great. Right?
Oh, he was such a good Khonshu.
What killed me? Every episode, every single one, I knew it was F. Murray Abraham. I had to watch the credits to actually remember that was F. Murray Abraham, because something about his Khonshu voice was just different enough than his standard voice that I didn't immediately catch it every time. Like, every time I watched the credits, I was like, Abraham, oh, and I never remembered.
Also, by the way, the one who played Layla, May Kalamawi, she is actually Egyptian and Palestinian.
Wonderful.
So again, credit to Marvel's casting team for working harder on it these days.
Yeah, for sure.
I also would like to give a big shout out to, I don't know who it was, the VA for Tawaret. How do you pronounce that name?
Tawaret. Yeah.
Tawaret. Yeah. Just, I mean, the one line, "Hi," and just, I was like, I'm sold on this character. I want more.
Just dying on that one.
It's like, oh, I have a card for that, and just the absent-minded, sweet goddess of, it's like just beautiful.
And the wonderful CG work capturing the mannerisms of a hippopotamus, even in this persona, because again, you see the little ear wiggles, you see the little flares of the whiskers,
nostrils,
nostril flares, like those little tiny things caught my eye, but I kept thinking it's just perfect. It's wonderful.
So I think the actress who played Tawaret in Moon Knight, I think this is her first role. Her name is Antonia Salib. There's very little about her, and the only thing on her filmography on IMDb is Moon Knight.
Good for her.
Good for her.
Kicked ass.
Like, great way to start. I did like those sequences with Tawaret on the boat, and then like when she was like, "Yay, you're gonna be my avatar!" I'm so happy.
Okay, her. Let's go back to May.
The switching back and forth there as well.
Yeah,
Yep.
The switching in the corridor where she's switching between Layla and Tawaret. It's like that was just
Now,
really acted.
I was curious during that scene. I was trying to figure out if the Tawaret voice was ADR or not, or if that was May, because it was surprisingly close to the Tawaret voice.
So, my guess is they just melded them in post.
Okay.
Did
Ooh,
May
yeah,
and the voice of Tawaret like meld that in post so you can kind of just have it synced?
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, I don't have. There was a couple of points, probably midway through the season, that I could have stood for them to kind of speed it up a little bit.
Agreed.
But overall, I mean, I think that 6 episodes was basically the perfect runtime for this. You got everything you wanted.
It's funny. I'm curious what you guys, what the two of you felt was like filler. Because I'm thinking back on those 6 episodes, I don't recall a single moment where I was like, okay, let's move it forward. Let's keep moving. Like everything felt like it was in the right place to me. Everything felt timed out very well. And
I don't think of it as filler. I think of it as pacing. I think
I would agree.
I think they could have gotten. I think that. Oh, so here's one of the examples. A lot of the back and forth battle between Mark and Steven, somewhere like episode 3-ish, there was a couple points where I got to the point where I was like, yeah, I get it. They're very different personalities, but we seem like we're retreading the same fight.
Okay, I can get
a couple
that.
times. I'm like, yeah, come on, we know something's going to happen here. Let's get to it. That's probably the one where I would say it drags a little bit. I'm looking for the episode list right now.
For me, I think one of the only things I can think of that was a little bit of a drag was the scene after Khonshu had been encased and entombed in stone.
Mm-hmm.
And there's the great fight where Steven's out and Layla throws the flare and that whole thing goes off. That's great. But then there's some beautiful scenery work
Mm-hmm.
that takes like 5 or 10 minutes to get through as they're driving, and things are just, it was like, and I'm going to get a lot of crap for this. What's our rating? PG-13?
Yeah.
It's After Dark. I'm going to get a lot of shit for this, but it reminded me a lot of Lord of the Rings, where there's just, we're going to have this scene because it's really beautiful country. And it's kind of like, okay, it is very beautiful country. Your director of photography and filmography is just wonderful. And I do want to talk about that, actually, just how well all the photography was done. But it could have been stepped up a little bit there. But that's a minor niggle, honestly. There was no dead spaces, but a couple pacing issues were just could have been tightened up, and it would have been fantastic instead of just really, really, really good.
So yeah, and that's I think the only place I agree with Kaylee. There was just some points where they could have tightened it up. And you're going to hear me talk about that more in Multiverse of Madness.
I did hear just recently that the director or the writer, Mohammed Dahib, I think is his name, said that his favorite scene in episode 6 with Oscar Isaac was taken out. And he's really hoping that it gets. I got to see if I can find that article real quick.
Yeah.
Because
I haven't heard
the
this
way
part.
he described it. Come back to me in a minute. I'll go find it.
So let's talk about the future Moon Knight while Kaylee's doing that. So, per Emmy rules, Disney submitted all their people for awards to the award judging stuff for the Emmys. They submitted it as a limited series. Now, in the advertising, they called it a season finale, not a series finale. It's not the first time one of the streamers has pulled this trick. In fact, the Emmys changed the rules because they did it, and the Emmys were pissed. Had to do with an Apple TV Plus show because of how these things are done. Also, the other thing, Marvel usually doesn't sign actors to single deals, right? Like when Chris
Right.
Evans signs on for Captain America, they're like, you are going to headline 2 films and you will appear in 4 more, for example, right? Same thing with Robert Downey and everybody else, Chris Hemsworth, etc., right? Which is how they handle all the, like, Spider-Man has his 3 films, but he also appears in 2 others, you know, and there's different levels of that.
Yeah.
I haven't seen any details on the deal that Oscar Isaac signed. So my guess is they wouldn't bring Moon Knight into the MCU without planning to bring him back later. Especially since, you know, obviously, you know, we end and Moon Knight's not gone.
Right.
So,
Well, I've heard a rumor that he's going to be part of Midnight Suns. So,
which he belongs there.
Yep.
I would like that.
Could see that.
I did find the article I was looking for about the deleted scene.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. He's a genius. Talking about Oscar Isaac. The irony is that my favorite scene has got cut in episode 6. As great as everything else was, he actually topped it with something even better. He confronted his mom in a white void, and he was going back and forth between Mark and Steven. Oh my God, that scene by itself is an Oscar-worthy performance, and we're really hoping that Marvel releases that scene one day because it was a genius moment. And it's like,
I would love. I would love to see that. I'm wondering why it got cut.
Time, I'm guessing.
They weren't shy about making these ones a little longer than a lot of the other ones. Like Falcon and the Winter Soldier, they were pretty tight on the episode timing. Same thing with WandaVision. They were like 28, 29. These ones were all like 45 minutes. Chat just brought up Dark Avengers. That's definitely been one of the rumors as to what the MCU is building to, is a Dark Avengers or possibly Avengers West Coast. Dark Avengers would be interesting.
I'd love to see Great Lakes Avengers. I want my Squirrel Girl.
I think Squirrel Girl is coming.
If Squirrel Girl makes an appearance at all, at this point, I think it would be in Ms. Marvel.
Ooh, good call.
And
I think I think you'd find it as a cameo in Ms. Marvel toward the end of the show.
Which, rumor has it, Ms. Marvel is being moved to a theatrical base release.
Really?
For a first couple episodes.
Because, I just heard that they are. I believe that's June 6th is when that launches.
Yeah, there was something I read about that. Oh no, couple of different. Sorry, they're doing it in a few markets. Couple of different markets. Pakistan is getting a theatrical release.
Nice.
Which makes sense because she's a Pakistani character. Yeah, I'll be interesting to see. Miss Marvel's one. We'll probably touch on that toward the end of the show because those ones are coming. So yeah, final thoughts on Moon Knight, Michael?
I mean, again, no surprise. I loved it. Moon Knight was a wonderful addition to the Disney Plus Marvel television shows. It told a wonderful adaptation of the story from the comics. The more popular 2016 storyline from the comics. It gave us a very good ending point where if they don't decide to go with another series or another season, we can at least know that those heroes continue on and that the work is not yet done. So I did enjoy that. Overall, like, very happy with it. Again, just another feather in the cap for Disney Plus and Marvel, and certainly Oscar Isaac and Ethan Hawke and May. Like, everybody
just kind of crushed it in this one. Kaylee,
they really did.
Final thoughts on Moon Knight.
They really did. One thing I'm going to add on to a discussion about May Calloway, Layla's character, is I heard a few people say that while her character, her super persona, is technically a new character, they believe Crimson Scarab is what the name would be. Now, Crimson Scarab in the comics was a man, but the costume looks relatively similar, some of the markings, so that could be. But if that is not true, she is the first original Marvel superhero creation in the MCU.
Wow.
So That's an interesting point.
That is kind of interesting. I will be curious to see. Again, I hope she comes back. I thought she knocked it out of the park.
Agreed.
Oh, for sure.
But overall, I think the show, as Michael said, was just really wonderful. Oscar Isaac and everybody in that show just knocked it out of the park. And I'm looking forward to eventually, hopefully, someday being able to buy it if Disney Plus ever lets us do that ever again.
I think those
Just one real quick addition. Kaylee mentioned it earlier, but the cinematography in this particular series was just beautiful.
Yeah, it really was.
And the CGI
from
got
start to finish
better as they went along. The CGI in the first
really
couple
did.
episodes was kind of, especially that first appearance of Moon Knight, was kind of, I was like, ooh, come on, Marvel, you can do better than this. And then once they got into I was like, and as I watched, I was like, oh, you were saving budget for this. This is why that weird dog CGI early in the season was not as good, is because you were saving it for when the giant crocodile is fighting the giant moon bird.
Yes, giant Khonshu was awesome. I was a big fan of that battle taking place.
Yeah.
Someone in the chat just mentioned, they said, as someone who deals with mental health, I am grateful this show happened. If they can do a good... Mental health shouldn't be something we shy away from, and disability, and this is where I'm gonna
You're gonna soapbox for a minute?
I'm gonna soapbox for a sec. We shouldn't shy away from that. One of the things, again, I will give Disney some credit for, and some of the other places, go get the right people. Representation, consultation, right? Get the right folks in the room, right? Get an Egyptian Pakistani actress to play an Egyptian, an Arabic character, right? Go out there and find out how to do it, and find a way to do it respectfully, and I'm all for it. I think we're all a little tired of tropes, and these things not being treated respectfully. Again, I think Moon Knight did a pretty good job. At no point did I really go, ooh, no, why did you do that? You know.
There were no real cringe-worthy moments.
Yeah. So really thought they did a good job on it. Gonna use this piece too. Is we're seeing again more of the mystical stuff. We've got gods, we've got magic, we've got who knows what in Moon Knight, and then obviously we're moving to topic number 2, which is Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, the Sorcerer Supreme, who is not Doctor Strange.
I mean, I feel like this Marvel phase is basically cosmic power. It's mystic power, it's cosmic power.
Magic.
They've dealt. Yeah. They dealt with the regular physical realm properties, and of course some of the cosmic side with the Infinity Stones. But yeah, the real diving hard into the magic side with this phase. I'm all for it.
So
we're gonna hang on. I'm gonna tell everybody this is spoilers. If you've not seen Multiverse of Madness,
super
out.
Spoilers.
I mean, if you want to stay, if you don't care,
that's true.
Stay. But yes, we're going to dive into spoiler territory. So we'll start with overall thoughts. We kicked off with Kayla. So Michael, let's start with you this time. Multiverse of Madness. What did you think?
The day after I saw this, actually the afternoon I saw this movie, I was in most of the Discords that I belong to in the multimedia or movie channels basically saying if they were going to give Sam Raimi a Marvel movie, this was the perfect Marvel movie to give Sam Raimi. Because this movie, I think from start to finish, is or I should say MCU movie, because of course he's done Spider-Man movies.
Yeah,
right.
I think for the MCU, for the tone of this movie in general, and the things that it touches on, and the way it handles those things, I think Raimi was spot on perfect for this. I really do. His sensibilities, his cinematography, the way he frames his shots, even the small gags that he brings in with his camera tricks and the things that he does, I feel like it all just meshed perfectly with the subject matter at hand.
You could feel his horror background.
Especially
through the whole movie.
Again, the back end of this movie, I told the people I have talked to about this, I was like, just be aware, like the latter half of this movie is an MCU horror movie. Like, there's just no two ways about it. Like, it is the closest thing you're going to get to a straight up horror movie in the MCU.
Pretty close.
And again, cast knocked it out of the park. Always love to see the fact that Wong started off as kind of a smaller character in Doctor Strange. Like he was kind of a sidekick character, and to see the way that they've grown his character through the different appearances that Wong has been in, again, more appropriately to his actual standing in Marvel. As you know, Wong has also grown in the comics himself. I loved the fact that they basically got a great actor to play Wong, right? Benedict is wonderful, and they then just basically let him run with it. We're like, not only did you do this well, we're going to continue to like make you a focal point of this.
By the way, if you haven't seen his interview where he talks about when he was lobbying to play this character,
Oh yes,
his Wong for Wong,
Wong for Wong.
okay, because
Oh,
his real name is Benedict Wong, and so for the chat,
But
for anybody that doesn't know, he's
across the board again. I'm
Go watch that.
no big shock here. No big shock. I absolutely love this movie. I can't wait to see it again. There's a lot happening. I feel like there's a lot of stuff that I saw but didn't really soak in, and I can't wait to see what this does to the rest of the phase for MCU.
okay.
Because there's a lot.
Yeah,
There's so much to unpack in this movie.
there is.
So much to unpack.
All right, Kaylee, initial thoughts.
So when I got out of Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, I was very conflicted. I knew it was a Sam Raimi movie. I know what Sam Raimi is capable of and what he does. I was not expecting what he did to Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. I went in expecting an MCU superhero movie, like Doctor Strange, like the first one. I did not get that, so I had a really hard time kind of coming to grips with this movie. And I spent basically every day since Thursday occasionally giving it some thought. And yeah, it's a Sam Raimi MCU movie completely. My favorite moment that showcases that is the scene where Wanda claws herself out of the gong in a Living Dead-esque sort of grotesque body horror type thing. And I remember in the theater, I was like, oh my God, what the hell are we doing to this Marvel property? But looking back on it, it made sense. It really did. This is not my favorite Marvel movie. It is in the top 50%, definitely, and I want to go see it again. I wasn't over the moon about it because while the pacing was very fast, everything just kept happening one thing after another. It was really an ensemble piece. It wasn't quite Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. It was a bunch of characters in the Multiverse of Madness, and Benedict Cumberbatch has top billing. Because this was much more about Wanda than it was about Doctor Strange. And we'll get into that in a little bit, but how Wanda was treated was the disappointment that kept it from being a really great movie for me.
So you said conflicted, and that the more I think about this, the more conflicted I am about this film. And it comes in two things. From a technical and a filmmaking aspect, I think it was extremely well executed. And I'm using that term very specifically. This movie feels like what Phase 4 as a whole has felt like to me. And that's, I don't know what you're doing. All the other phases from Iron Man, like Phase 1, Phase 2, Phase 3, you could see what they were building to. You could kind of like, okay, yep, I see. Hey, cat cameo. We got a cat cameo. That's our first cat cameo for the night. I can't tell in Phase 4 what they're doing. I don't know if they're building to Dark Avengers. I don't know if they're building to what. And
I can speak to that a little bit, Alex. I think it's because Phase 4 is the first time in the MCU so far that they have not been basing, at least from my knowledge, the story that they've been building for Phase 4 is not directly based on an existing storyline in the Marvel universe. It is parts and pieces of various storylines, but it is not like it's not like ripped from whole cloth.
No, yeah.
Here is a framework that we're building these movies in.
But neither was Infinity War.
Yeah, that's not true.
Well, because
Infinity War was based on like 4 different series.
I was going to say it wasn't based on the Infinity War books though, because
but like that whole the Infinity Stones like story is a long running story in Marvel, and they took pieces and parts to build their Infinity War story.
Yeah,
right?
Because I remember when they announced Infinity War, I was like, oh, we're gonna get Adam Warlock, and then I kept waiting for Adam Warlock to show up, and we got that one brief mention of him, and then we got into Infinity War. I was like, where the fuck is Adam Warlock?
Oh, Adam's coming.
Obviously, but I'm just like, I was confused.
Yeah.
So you said you were conflicted.
I interrupted you. I apologize.
So I expected more multiverses. I expected something different.
But they were paint in one. Come on, that's true.
That was a really neat sequence, and I loved that sequence when they were bouncing, when him and America Ferrera are bouncing through. I'm not sure what they were doing. Again, from a technical aspect, from a writing perspective, like just as this thing, it was really well executed. Benedict Cumberbatch, again, has always been the perfect casting for Doctor Strange. The girl that got to play America Ferrera, I thought did a bang up job.
America Chavez.
America Chavez. Sorry.
America Ferrera is a real person.
America Chavez.
I'm not going to try and... I know her actress's name. I cannot pronounce it, and I apologize profusely.
Yep. Elizabeth Olsen should be nominated for Best Supporting Actress Oscar for this portrayal. She won't be because, Hollywood and fuck you comic book movies, but she carried this film. From a who's the hero standpoint, I'm sorry, Wong's the MVP. Wong is the MVP. Wong, yeah. Okay? I will fight people about that, okay? And Wong legit is, both in name and in action, Wong is the Sorcerer Supreme. Wong deserves that title.
Have you heard the rumor of the spinoff where Wong takes Ned as his apprentice? There might be some shorts.
No. I would love to see that as well. I've heard that there is a behind the scenes petitioning for that to be a Disney Plus series.
I think it would be a fun
I would love to see it.
Little vignettes type thing.
I would love to see it, kind of like the Thor when he got a roommate in Australia.
Yes. I would love to see that.
I would love to see that too. Let's dive into spoilers. So first off, here's the thing. This is the first time I've seen this happen. The fans got their fan casting. We got the fan casting. I have seen this fan casting 100 times. I've seen so many fan arts of this done. And the fans were like, please just give us this. We had John Krasinski as Mr. Fantastic.
And he knocked it out of the park. He was perfect.
He looks like Mr. Fantastic. I'm hoping that's an indication that he's coming back, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. Because there's been some developments on the business side of it that may indicate that he is. But we got the fan casting. There he was. I was like, oh, it actually happened. They freaking did it.
If they're gonna bring Fantastic Four and X-Men into the MCU proper, I mean,
not
other
these
than
versions,
getting their own flick.
Because spoilers, Wanda comes in there into this version of Earth and murks all of them.
Oh yeah, she Julianed him. Yeah,
she was like, oh yeah, that's right. Wanda has matter alteration abilities. Whoopsie, right?
Yeah.
The scene, in fact, the one that really sticks with me is when Black Bolt is killed.
Yeah.
And his head kind of caves in, and I was like, oh dang.
No, that was
gross.
Was shocking from a Marvel perspective, and that's I had a friend of mine I was talking to the other day made the mistake of bringing their young children to see, or like
Ooh.
younger kids to
Oh, yeah.
see this.
No.
And they said that they left like shortly after, the halfway through, but they had gotten to that point in the movie.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And I was like, ah, yikes! Like that was
The
a lot.
entire
That was a lot.
the entire fight was brutal and dark on purpose. It was really at that point you're like, Wanda, there's no turning back at that point.
No, and I was really at that point in the film really wondering how they were going to resolve the Wanda thing. I was like, can you bring her back at this point? Like, she just like put a cap shield through Captain Carter. You know, I mean, she murked all of them, and the way she killed Professor X, that was a very horror moment where she like walked up behind him, like just like appeared. There was a very like supernatural element to it, and that was the other horror thing. There was that sequence where they're running through the hallways, and she does that weird like possessed walk.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, oh man, that's creepy.
One thing you mentioned when she came up behind Professor X, that really gave me a deja vu flashback to Age of Ultron, because she did that to Tony. She kind of came up behind him and just did that whisper. It was using her abilities to mind do him.
Yep.
So that was kind of a callback. Now that with Professor X, I had a little bit of a qualm as a comic nerd there, because Professor X doesn't have magic, but he is the strongest mental mutant we have. I mean, he contained Dark Phoenix.
Yep.
So that he was kind of like, that's the Phoenix Force. Wanda, you're really good, but even with the Darkhold, come on.
That was a weird way. I mean, she could have just killed him in the physical space, and I think it would have made more sense from a powers and cosmic thing. I mean, I understood it. It was nice seeing Patrick Stewart, but it was Patrick Stewart in the yellow floaty wheelchair from '97.
Dude, when the Avengers or when the X-Men animated theme came on, I was in my seat going. I was like, yeah, right.
I thought it was great. By the way, for those in the chat that want to know, they are bringing back the X-Men 97 animated series. Specifically, they're calling it X-Men 97. It will be another animated season to pick up where X-Men 97 left off. So look forward to that in the future. I'm glad we got Patrick Stewart for this. I'm glad we got Haley Atwell as Captain Carter.
That made me so happy.
I was so happy.
This was the movie too, I would say. Like, there's a lot of MCU movies you can walk into, and you don't need to have seen anything else, and it's still like you're gonna get it. It will be fine. This was, in my opinion, the most referential, and I think if you're not up on your Marvel, it's gonna be hard to understand.
I would disagree only from the aspect of Infinity War and Endgame. I think those two movies, if you happen to start watching with Infinity War, you really have no story basis for what's going on.
I think you had to have seen WandaVision.
I think so too. I think what's going on with Wanda, especially at the beginning, doesn't really make sense
if you haven't seen WandaVision. They did not do a very good job of back-explaining that for anyone who hadn't. I think they've given up on a lot of the back-explaining. I think they just don't care anymore.
Well, I think they know who their audience is.
Yep.
I mean,
I do think that you would have missed a lot of things, but you still could see this movie. If you'd seen Doctor Strange, yes. If you've seen Infinity War and Endgame, yes. Then that helps. WandaVision totally helps, and you're going to get more and more and more as you watch more and more of it. But I think that they made her drive and motivation clear enough that somebody could come in cold and go, oh, this woman lost her kids somehow, and she's mentally screwed up about that, and she's taking her revenge to try and reclaim those children, and everything's been taken away from her. You just don't get the nuance. So yeah. I think I think Alex actually has a good point. I think Marvel at this point is like, you need to catch up at this point.
And I honestly, I feel like there's a lot of references in here that if you didn't see What If, that would go over your head.
Yeah, I think if you didn't see What If, they would go over your head, but to me, they weren't important story references.
I agree. I agree.
The WandaVision
Although-
thing, the concept of the trauma shift with Wanda and why she's looking for her kids, and those sequences at the end of the film where she gets to her alternate universe self, right?
Mhm.
Without that context of WandaVision and why I personally felt that the psychology of this, and this is the other thing that kind of throws me out, right? Is like Wanda knew she made it all up, right? And I understand that she had this conceptualization of who her children were, but I don't understand the like, I'm willing to destroy universes to get back the thing that I had for a month. Like,
I think
it's always thrown me a little bit, right?
Go ahead, Kaylee.
With Wanda, and again, I am not a mental health expert. I'm not a trauma expert, but Wanda as a character has been repeatedly and constantly been bullied and traumatized and hurt in the MCU. She was basically tortured to get and given superpowers, and then she was sent off to torture other people, and then she lost her brother, and then she had 5 minutes of her life when she felt somebody loved her. 5 minutes of screen time, basically. And that's at the beginning of Infinity War when her and Vision ran off.
Mm-hmm.
And then that was all taken away from her, and she had to make the decision to kill Vision to try and save the universe.
Right.
And if Thanos hadn't called down that strike on everybody there, she would have killed him.
Well, I think what we have to remember there too is that not only did she have to kill the person that she loved, but it ended up being for nothing.
Yep, you beat me to it.
Like,
Yeah,
it
it was all for nothing. At the end, the sacrifice play was made, and it didn't do a damn bit. And then she went into denial and built this entire thing. Again, she was happy, and here comes the world again to tear it all away from her. Now, admittedly, not a good thing, taking an entire town mentally hostage, but it takes everything away from her. Again, the world just takes and takes and takes and kicks Wanda when she's the worst off.
Yeah.
And she held on to she wanted the moment of happy. She had the kids. She had kids who loved her. She loved those kids. That was her fixation point, and that was her entire drive throughout the movie. And my take on the movie is that I didn't like that they just used her over and over and over again and took this poor woman and the pain she was going through as a focal point to make her the villain. I felt very bad for the character. I could understand why she was doing it, but I just wasn't happy. Like, even with most Marvel villains, you can be like, oh, you got your ass kicked. That was good. Thanos, I could even kind of, in a weird sort of way, understand where he was coming from.
Yeah.
Even though he was going about it all wrong. It's genocide, right? Yes, it is. But Wanda, I just felt like Wanda just got the short end of the stick. She was doing bad things, but the world pushed her to it. She was a villain because circumstances made her so. And it felt like just kicking a dog when it was, laying there.
And
I didn't like it.
The one credit I'll give it is the way they ended it, because the only person who could really end her was her, and I like that that's how they kind of did it. Right? It was the other Wanda and the kids who were like, "What are you doing? Stop." No one else could convince her.
Her own self-destruction in the Darkhold and the destruction of the Darkhold, if she's actually dead, which we don't know for sure, reminded me a lot of the end of, again, the comic run of Dark Phoenix, where Jean had to distract Dark Phoenix in order to kill herself.
I don't think they will bring this Wanda back to life, because again, I think that it's how do you bring this Wanda back to life with what she has done? I think if they bring back the character of Wanda, the character of Scarlet Witch, it will be from another universe. We still don't know, and we should be seeing something soon, theoretically. We don't know how they're going to introduce the X family into the MCU. That's still up in the air. The Fantastic Four movie's been announced, but we don't know how that's coming. There's a lot coming that we just don't have great visibility. COVID threw off their entire release schedule. I think they're a year behind everything right now. So
Are we going into future stuff at this point? Because I have one more Doctor Strange comment.
Yeah, let's go.
I haven't really gone into any detail on Strange yet, so I would like the chance to do that
Yeah,
as well.
do that.
Whenever. Just to comment on the way that Wanda was handled, or the way the character was handled in this movie, I honestly felt like it worked for Wanda, given what we've seen Wanda go through. The headspace, of course, having watched WandaVision, the headspace that Wanda was in at the end of WandaVision, and even at the end of WandaVision, they make it very clear that she's reading the Darkhold. She is researching like what to do, or researching this book. That being said, I also feel that this is all, to me anyway, watching this story and watching this story with Wanda unfold, I felt like this was the MCU's light version of No More Mutants. Like, it was Wanda using her powers in a world-changing way that they couldn't do directly because, of course, the MCU doesn't have mutants, and they don't have that type of story built in yet. But to have Wanda go in and basically like destroying worlds to get this thing that she wants, or this thing that she feels she deserves, or that has been denied her, it fits with the Wanda that we see growing out of all this conflict and all this pain. And I read something else recently that was basically like, when you're doing something that's bad for you, everyone can tell you that you're doing something that's bad for you. But until you see it for yourself and make that realization for yourself, you will not be ready to step away and say, I have to get out of this. I have to stop this. This pattern, or this thing that I'm in. And I feel like this movie was a very good example of that, using Wanda as that person who, as that person that's in that situation that everyone can tell you, Wanda, this is wrong. Wanda, you can't do this. You're destroying worlds, Wanda. And until she sees herself protecting her children from herself, that's the only thing that can really flip her switch. Nothing else works, right? That being said, I think there's a part of this too. Like, I love the fact that the through line for the story, what you keep getting from all these different universes, especially the one they spend the most time in, of course, with the Illuminati, is that we figured out that basically Doctor Strange is the worst thing to happen to every universe. Doctor Strange is a point of contention in every universe.
And that was the other big change, like character change, that I saw in the film. Is this was finally, it was this universe's Doctor Strange changing that path, right? Where he's not going to be the worst thing that happened here, because he sees what his mistakes were.
And so clearly, right? I mean, especially when he's essentially fighting the Strange from What If.
Yep.
That's literally been drawing power off of every cosmic entity it possibly can. Like, all in, it's, if you haven't seen What If, all in the quest to try and get the love of his life back.
Get Christine to not die.
Yeah, to get Christine to not die, literally sucks in every bit of power from every cosmic entity he possibly can to stop a finite point in time, to change a finite point in time, to bring Christine back. And of course, per What If, it fails horribly. It goes horribly astray. We get to see that Strange in this movie, another wonderful reference back to What If. But again, there's that, our universe's 616 Doctor Strange has to fight that Doctor Strange You know, and again, it's another universe where Doctor Strange is, you know, it's
Well,
bad.
well, and
It's bad.
with the ending scene where the third eye pops open on his head, I almost got this feeling like, did he like get infected by? Is he still being infected by evil Doctor Strange / the Darkhold? And then
I read up on that actually, and that is an expression of power caused by the Eye of Agamotto.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, because I didn't get
And
like I was confused
Yep.
by that ending scene because he like falls down. He's like ah, and I'm like okay. And then in the post credits when Clea comes in, he's like I'm great, let's go. And I'm like what? Okay, cool.
Oh, and Clea, Clea is such a wonderful fixture from the comics. I'm so glad they brought Clea in, and of course the perfect actress to play Clea.
Yeah, we got Charlize Theron.
Oh.
Also, let's talk about our Bruce Campbell cameo because it can't be
that's
Sam
where I was
Raimi.
ending.
That can't be Sam Raimi without a Bruce Campbell
For
cameo.
100%.
For those watching who are not up on this, so Bruce Campbell was in the original Evil Dead. Him and Raimi have been friends for God, it's got to be 40 years by now. And he appears in a lot of Raimi stuff. He'll do cameos, and he plays like a wonked out hot dog vendor.
Well,
Who's
just a
strange,
note,
like
in
Pizza,
all
pizza balls.
pizza balls.
Pizza Ball. He also was in every single Sam Raimi Spider-Man movie too, in different roles.
Yep.
Yep.
And
But yeah,
then Strange casts a spell on him to have him beat himself up, apparently for 3 weeks.
But that routine is the exact, at least from what I could tell, and I haven't looked this up to confirm, but the routine that he's beating himself up with is the routine from Evil Dead 2.
Nice. Love it.
oh god,
And
Where the punching himself, the moves that he's doing, the actual order in which they occur, like is all from that movie, from what I read.
level.
that's beautiful.
It's super self-referential. I like that we got a little more clarification. So Doctor Strange knows who Spider-Man is, but doesn't have any concept as to who Spider-Man is in reality.
As per the spell.
Yeah.
Like they remember Spider-Man, but the end of Spider-Man, they weren't super clear on who would remember what.
And I've heard that
So now we
there
know
are
they
two
know.
people that know. Well, I've heard that there are 2 people that still remember who the Peter Parker is Spider-Man.
Okay, who would that be?
The Incredible Hulk, because the Hulk is very resistant to magic.
Okay,
That one I'm kind of iffy about. That sounds like a far reach.
possible.
The other one is Wong. Because A, I don't think Wong was on planet when that happened. And B, he told Strange, quote, "Leave me out of this."
Could be.
So I think between those two pieces, because you see Wong portal out, sling ring out. By the way, slingies is the best thing out of that movie. Calling the sling rings slingies made me giggle for at least an hour. But you see Wong portal out, and he wasn't on Earth to have that spell directed at him. So,
I mean, it's possible.
but that's a different movie.
Like I said, again, I still feel like I'm not sure where they're going. We're pushing some cosmic stuff. Obviously, Thor: Love and Thunder is next in the Marvel shoot.
Next month,
Is that
or is
next
that
month?
July?
July.
Okay,
Um,
so we got Ms. Marvel next month, then Thor in July.
yes, so that's going to be interesting to see what they do there. Again, I can't tell where they're going. Any other thoughts on Doctor Strange?
I think the only other thing I would say is a reference to what you guys were saying, and I'll throw it right back to you, Michael. I liked that we actually saw growth of Stephen Strange as a character here.
I mean, you get hints of it through the Infinity movies, right? He still thinks his his farts don't stink, but at the end of the day, like he also realizes that he's not quite the cosmic power that he thinks he is after Doctor Strange, when he beats Dormammu. Like he thinks like he's walking, like he could be doing the John Travolta walk down the street in the beginning of a Saturday Night Fever.
Nice.
You know, like you could make that reference with Stephen Strange. But I feel like definitely in this movie you get that, like, he realizes his hubris like through the course of this movie and what happens. And so the fact that this is Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, clearly Doctor Strange is like the anchor for the movie. It is very much a Scarlet Witch, a Wanda movie. It's telling so much of her story. You see so much more of her story than you do of Strange's, really.
Mm-hmm.
And I gotta say also, like I wanted more of America Chavez. Like I want to see more of that character. I love the fact that they make a very clear point of saying, and of course they call it spelled out in the movie, I am the only one of me. I am the only America Chavez in all of the multiverses.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and
I want to know why.
That they make that reference a number of times. Like, you know, well, I'll just look up, you know, we'll go and see this person. This universe is Doctor Strange, or this universe is so and so, right? But that character singularly gets to be like the only version of her, of them, I should say. I believe they're they. I think they're they in the comic, but I think they were she in the movie. Anyway,
we'll have to look that up. Chat, correct us if we don't know.
I don't remember.
Yeah, I thought that she did a great job as a freshman outing for this. I don't remember who mentioned. I think we may see her again in Miss Marvel, or possibly in She-Hulk, something. It'll be interesting to see where they take this character. And again, like I keep coming back to West Coast Avengers, and I wonder if that's where they're going.
I think this movie makes it such a hard play to setting up the actual multiverse. Like, not just as a theory, not just as it exists, but
for sure,
you know,
for sure. And we got that from between Spider-Man and this one. Like, we know the multiverse is a thing now. I just don't know what Marvel's doing it, because having the multiverse can get muddy and difficult to keep track of, and I think that's could be a challenge for them.
We have to remember too that what we have involved and we did not see in this movie. No, we didn't see hide nor hair of. Kang is out there.
Yep, that's true.
And Kang, as a cosmic force that you know, again, pardon my language, fucks with time hardcore.
Yeah.
Like, I have a feeling that we're going to see Kang come into this before the end of this phase, and Kang is going to end up, I think, being the big bad for this entire phase, because Kang can not only mess with time in a singular universe, but time in the multiverse.
Now, I agree with you there. I think Kang is going to be the big bad for this thing. We know he's the big bad in Ant-Man Quantumania, which will be our third Ant-Man film. And we saw, obviously, one version of Kang. And he talks about the multiversal war in Loki, where he's like, I had to kill all the other versions of me so that I could win.
So if you think about that too, right? If Kang is the only version of Kang, and America Chavez is the only version of America Chavez, we'll likely see America come back during that particular conflict, as there are only one of each of them.
Yeah.
Could possibly.
And America, as we've seen, America is the only hero that can, or the only being that can, at will, open gateways to the other multiverses.
Yeah. It's gonna be really interesting to see where they go with all of this without losing their minds. I'm super curious. I think overall, again, it's well done. Chat's like, that brings up lots of questions. I'm with you.
Indeed, bit player.
And there was a lot of fan theories for this, right? One of the fan theories before this was that this was going to be a House of M situation, and the way they were going to bring the X-Men in is that what no one knew was that Wanda had previously said no more mutants, and that's where all the mutants went, and that's why they haven't been in the MCU, but now they're back. Yay! Obviously, that wasn't the case. Again,
I mean, it could be that the mutants are just going to only exist in not the Marvel 616 universe.
It could be.
And that could be that you're going to have the X-Men, but they're going to be in, in universe 286.
And I think that, again, it'll be interesting to see how they handle this multiverse stuff. Speaking of multiverses, we know that the second Spider-Man cartoon, the Into the Spider-Verse sequel, which is now, they've now divided number 2 into 3. It's Across the Spider-Verse, and then something else. They changed the title of the third film.
Mm-hmm.
So they're doing multiversal stuff with that. They've already done multiversal stuff there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad they're not being afraid of it, but I'm curious how they're going to handle it. There's a lot of potential there. Obviously, our next couple releases, we have Miss Marvel, which is coming up.
Yep.
Now, I actually think they're kind of doing Miss Marvel a disservice.
How so?
How so? Yeah. Elaborate, please.
If I'm not mistaken, yes. So usually Disney Plus does not have multiple shows on at the same time.
When they against have Kenobi,
they've got it up with Kenobi. Now Dylan and I am super. And I don't know. Did you both see the newest trailer of Kenobi?
I did not watch it.
I didn't watch it either.
Oh,
I don't want to.
So yeah. So Alex, a little known fact about me, or maybe it's a common fact. I watch teasers. That's it. I don't watch trailers.
They haven't put out a full trailer for Kenobi. This one's still only a minute 10.
Mm-hmm.
And we get to see some Obi-Wan doing some hand-to-hand combat fighting, like street fighting, and I like that. We also get a great line from
I'm
Owen.
Horrible to talk about trailers with. I apologize.
Owen Lars.
It's my one glaring flaw as
so
a pop culture.
It's coming,
speaker.
Right? But they're putting Miss Marvel up against Kenobi. And I don't know. I think this is a test for them to see if they can manage 2 at a time. Because normally they're like, here's a show.
Yeah, we either Star Wars is going on or Marvel is going on, but ne'er the twain shall meet.
Right. And we don't, and they just don't cross their premiere shows. They just don't do it. They have 1 at a time. They don't do the binge release like Netflix does. By the way, Netflix, your stock is like even further down. Disney's eating your lunch now, kids. Like,
yeah.
I mean, seriously.
Disney Plus is still a relatively new streaming platform too. I mean, it's only been 2 years now.
Yeah,
I mean,
3.
Disney does have the benefit of having 2 of the world's largest franchises.
But
yeah,
they can still. Here's
content.
The thing: Warner Brothers has managed to mess
3.
up the DC franchise with Batman and Superman for years. I mean, you can still mess it up as a studio. I hate it, but I mean, really, like, Disney really has figured out, like, the formula.
Yeah.
Right? I think right around the time Miss Marvel releases, we'll probably get a release date for She-Hulk.
I hope so. I'm excited about that one, too.
I am excited about that one.
It's sometime this year. That's all they've said. Jessica Gao is the showrunner. We know Mark Ruffalo is coming back. I mean...
is there anything else this year other than Wakanda Forever, I think, is at the end of the year?
I think so.
I thought that got pushed.
It might have been pushed.
It might have been pushed, but Quantumania is next year, beginning of next year.
All right, what do we got coming up?
Yeah, we could always just go look and talk about that.
Hang on one second. Future release order. Okay, so here's what we know. What has been confirmed. Hang on. Here we go. Black Panther Wakanda Forever is currently slated for November 11th. Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania is February 17th of next year. And then we get Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, May 5th of 2023. The Marvels is July 28th, 2023. Fantastic Four, and then 2 untitled Marvel films, which we don't know. As far as shows, She-Hulk is sometime this year. What If Season 2 is sometime this year. There will be a Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special in December. And I know they actually have started filming on this. I saw the announcement. Secret Invasion, maybe this year, maybe early next year.
And see, Fantastic Four is another one that kind of plays into the cosmic side of things, especially when you start talking about villains like Kang,
Galactus
and Kang and Annihilus, and like there's a number of those classic like cosmic power villains, the ultimate nullifier. Like there's so much stuff that they can bring to the table in that type of storyline with Fantastic Four. coming later in the phase as it does, it wouldn't surprise me if that you see things building toward that.
So here's some speculation I've seen a bunch of lately, and I'm curious to hear you two's opinion on it. Up until the week before Doctor Strange released, John Watts, who directed all 3 of the Spider-Man movies, he was the slated director for the Fantastic Four MCU film. The week before Doctor Strange released, they announced that John Watts will not be doing that film. They have yet to announce a replacement director. Now, we all know that they apparently have been trying to get John Krasinski for a while. They finally got him fan casted into Doctor Strange. But John Krasinski really likes to direct and he likes to write, right? Kaylee, did you see The Quiet Place?
I did not.
If you like not bloody horror, but creepy horror, it's a great film. Krasinski,
Quiet Place is great.
Krasinski directed that and wrote it and starred in it with his wife, Emily Blunt, who a lot of people fan casted next to him as the Invisible Woman.
I believe, didn't Krasinski also direct a number of the Jack Ryan episodes?
He has directed a number of the Jack Ryan episodes. Also, Jack Ryan is ending after season 4. That was announced Monday? So Jack Ryan's over. So the speculation is that the only way they could get Krasinski into the MCU was if he was allowed to write and direct the Fantastic Four film. Your thoughts, Michael?
Great. I mean, if he has a passion for the material, he's got the directorial chops.
He's a nerd.
Yeah, he's a nerd. I mean, not just that, but I mean, again, I think he's got the directorial chops to handle it.
The writing chops.
I think he's got the writing chops. Certainly, he can handle the mix of comedy and action that the Fantastic Four would need to be, especially because, at its heart, Fantastic Four is typically, again, a kind of a movie about a family, right? So I feel like that's kind of a no-brainer for them. If they wanted to get Krasinski on board, sure, give him the movie. I mean, he certainly can't do any worse than any of the other Fantastic Four movies that have come out.
I agree.
I don't really have a lot of opinion on this one because I know who John Krasinski is. I've seen him in a few things, but I don't really have a good feel for him. I'm just happy I thought he made a good Reed Richards, so if he's in the movie, I'm on board with it pretty much anyway. So I'm easy. The one thing that I have heard recently rumored, speaking of Fantastic Four, is apparently a certain Mr. Keanu Reeves has been approached by Marvel.
To play who?
The current theory is Doctor Doom.
Oh, that would be... I would eat that up with a spoon. That'd be wonderful.
I'm very...
To get Keanu behind the mask doing the Doom lives, like that type of stuff. Oh, that would be so much fun.
Yeah, I think that would be interesting, but I have heard nothing firm about it other than he has said that if Marvel wants him, he's there. And he has been in talks with Marvel. We just don't know if anything's coming of it. I just think it would be really cool.
The other thing I'm waiting for an announcement on, and it's weird because we haven't gotten any new announcements lately. I'm waiting for an announcement on Deadpool 3.
I think that's supposed to be 2023.
No, it's not on the slate yet. I know Ryan Reynolds was like, he released a thing showing that he was at Marvel Studios talking to them, but they do not have an official release date for it yet.
I mean, they could always put it in towards the end of this year as like, a Deadpool Christmas.
I wouldn't be surprised at all if you get Deadpool as a cameo in an existing movie just to bring him in, just to basically be able to say, okay, yeah, Deadpool's in the MCU, like without question, without fail.
I mean, if we're gonna have Deadpool show up in the MCU, it would feel right in Thor: Love and Thunder, because Ragnarok and Love and Thunder have a lighter feel to them.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. There's a little more comedic bits to it, or even Guardians of the Galaxy would be a good fit, which would be really weird.
I think, personally, I would love to, if they haven't yet put a Deadpool movie on the slate, I would love to see Deadpool get little bits in every Marvel movie coming out. Like literally, if it's even just Deadpool like walking in the background of a scene and like looking at the camera, like like that, something even that small.
The
But
easiest thing
it'd be
is
funny to sprinkle him in and then give him his own movie, like just as a.
Ryan Reynolds would just like walk by, stare straight at the camera to break the fourth wall, and go, "There was a merger," and then just walk off screen.
Oh, for sure, right?
And that would be all it was. He'd be like, "Corporate synergy," right? Like, that's all it's going to take to bring him in.
Now I just want to go watch Free Guy again.
That was a pretty entertaining movie.
Talk about a lovely use of licensing.
Yeah.
Indeed. And Chris Evans.
Yeah.
I have to say something, and I warned you I was going to do this, Alex.
Go. Oh, yeah, this is the thing you
Star
wanted to
Trek
watch.
Strange New Worlds came
Yes.
out last week. And have either of you seen it?
Nope.
I have not had a chance to sit down
I haven't
with it
seen
yet.
none of the new Trek.
I'm going to be on
Now-
planes a lot in the next couple of weeks, so I'm planning on catching up on a lot of stuff.
Okay. I am the hugest fan of it. I sat down and watched it with my roommate this weekend. I got 5 minutes into it. I already had chills and was like, this is going to be good. By the end of it, I was a Trekkie again. I haven't been the hugest Star Trek fan for a very long time. I mean, I grew up on the original series and Next Gen. And then Next Gen kind of lost me towards the end, and I never really got into DS9. I tried to get into Enterprise, and just nothing's really ever grabbed me. I mean, some of the movies, I've watched every movie, but this felt like classic Trek, but modern. It had that hopeful feeling. Everything about it was perfect. The casting, the cinematography, the effects, the little Easter eggs going back to the original series and to Discovery, and all these. It reminded me a lot of the Orville in a way, where it still had the serious tones, but there was just a little bit of lightheartedness with it.
Another show that comes back, I believe, next month.
Yes, which I am also looking forward to.
Oh yes.
But I will not gush too long about it. But Strange New Worlds, got to the end of it, and my roommate said that was everything I wanted and everything I didn't know I needed in a Star Trek show.
Oh,
and that was the best way I could find to put it.
You're aware that Black Bolt was Anson Mount, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I know.
Yes.
And he recovered very well.
No, that's the thing. Like, if you I didn't know that going in, and then of course I read it afterwards. I was like, that's who that was. I was like looking at the Black Bolt character. I was like, I never watched the Inhumans show,
and he was the one that played Black Bolt on Inhumans.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that was a good pull for them again to bring in that unloved, that little the black sheep of the family Inhumans show, to bring that into MCU canon. But also Hell on Wheels. Like, if you've never watched Hell on Wheels, oh my God, just go and watch that show. Like, it is an amazing show, wonderful show. Anson Mount, Common, that Cole Meany. That show is so good.
One last comment on Star Trek, and then I'm done.
Yes.
Honest swear for today, anyway. The one thing I kind of had a really hard time with, but I loved it, was one of the new characters, Laan Noonien Singh, was played by the quite excellent Christina Chong. I just sat there for like the first 15 minutes of the movie before I gave up in IMDb the actress, because I swear it was Kara G from The Expanse. I swear it was Kamina Drummer from The Expanse on the bridge of the Enterprise, because they looked so very much like. If she would have just started saying Beltalada, I would have just been over the moon. But the characters were very similar, and I loved it. So go watch it. It's a great Trek show.
There you go.
I watched the first 20 minutes of the new Netflix show, The Pentaveret, based on the movie So I Married an Axe Murderer by Michael Myers, back from the 90s.
Really?
I have not made it through the first episode yet. I will simply say this. This would have been better 15 to 20 years ago, at least from my estimation.
Look.
And I will say this. There is a neat bit in the show where they are part of the show takes place in Canada, and the show goes from being a widescreen high def format to like an NTSC like square
4x3.
4:3 format
Wow.
for all the Canadian shots, and all of it goes into like low def or like standard definition.
Wow.
And there's actually a bit in the show that they're at a conspiracy convention, and one of the booths is Canada blurry.
Nice.
That's like one of the, I was like, okay, that's a long way to go for like kind of a clever bit. So
Look, here's the thing, Hollywood, don't try and remake Mike Myers stuff, okay? You can't do
You're
it.
gonna embarrass yourself.
Okay. By the way, if y'all haven't, here's the one I'll gush you about. If you haven't seen the stuff that Adam Sandler's been doing lately, Uncut Gems, and go watch the preview for the new one he's doing about basketball, and I can't think of the name of it off the top of my head.
I just saw the thing about that today, actually.
Adam Sandler is a dead serious, like hardcore, really good actor, like super, super good. So if you haven't watched those, you're missing out. That'll be the thing that I gush about. Before we end, the only other thing I will say, kind of bring us back to Marvel. If we're doing some Mystic stuff, can I please have the Ghost Rider from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. come back? Okay. They finally
Robbie Reyes?
Yes, we got the Robbie Reyes Ghost Rider in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I love that Ghost Rider. I love the character of Ghost Rider. The fact that they did the Robbie Reyes one, like, made me super, super happy. Please bring that back. Come on.
I thought they were planning to bring Ghost Rider in for Midnight Suns.
I thought so too, but again, Midnight Suns hasn't been officially announced. The other thing that's not on the slate, we don't know what's coming. We know it's happening, but we don't know when, is the Blade movie starring Mahershala Ali. We still don't know a release date on that. Obviously, we got the voice cameo at the end of Eternals, so we know it's coming. One of my feelings on Nick Cage's Ghost Rider, it was fine. For the comic book movie that it was at the time, it was okay. Like, it was that mid-aughts comic book style film, right? There was a lot of those at that time that were fun and they were fine, but they couldn't be franchises or carry long.
Yeah,
so,
Marvel was shotgunning its licensing out to whatever studios would pick anything up.
And that's because Marvel was going broke, right? Yeah. That's why Fox had all the X-Men and Sony has Spider-Man. And then when they got Disney, that was why they started with a B-list, at the time, B-list Marvel character, which was Iron Man. Iron Man is not one of their top tier things. It wasn't before the film, right? He was a B-list Marvel character, right?
And you have to remember that Chris Evans, before he was Captain America, was Johnny Storm in Fantastic Four.
Facts. And also Michael B. Jordan, before he was Killmonger in Black Panther, was also Johnny Storm in Fantastic Four. Okay, so take that for what it's worth.
Yeah.
Screw it up in the, work on a bad Fantastic Four, come play something cool in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
And then there's poor Bruce Campbell, who just gets beat up in all of them.
That's true. Chat saying he was a good Johnny. Are you talking about Chris Evans or... Oh, Evans okay. I opposed Chris Evans as Captain America because of that. I was right.
Evans was a very good Johnny Storm in those Fantastic Four movies.
He was a very good Johnny Storm.
Also, if you've never seen Chris Evans in the movie The Losers, that is highly recommended for the elevator scene, if nothing else.
Yes.
A DC property.
It's getting late over on the east part of the country, so I'm going to let our co-hosts go now, as it's getting late over there. Everybody who joined us for the stream tonight, thank you very much. Please remember, Chaos Inc. is on hiatus until July 11th. Our team here is talking about we're going to try and squeeze like a one-shot of probably something else in between those times. Right, I know there was a lot of talk in the private channel about not wanting July 11th to be the next time that all 5 of us got to play, so we're gonna try and work something out. Identical After Dark is gonna on hiatus for a couple of weeks. I'm gonna be traveling and bouncing around. It's gonna be a smidge inconsistent for the next 2 weeks. I'm hoping, in fact, I should for sure. Yeah, you can count on that. The next episode of Identical After Dark will be June 1st. Okay? So, and we will know.
Oh, we have a chat recommendation of Mouse Guard or Redwall. I second those. I think that would be a lot of fun.
Chris Evans in Knives Out. He's also very good in that. So.
Oh, yeah, he is very good in that.
Okay.
Yes.
He plays very un-Captain America.
Yes, very much so. this is where I'm going to let people go. Thank you all for joining us again. If you would like to learn more about Identico, go to playidentico.com. That's IDENTECO.com. For those of us listening to us on the podcatchers, we are on YouTube. We are on all your favorite podcast platforms. You can catch up now because we're going to stop on Angel City Stories and Chaos Inc. And there's side quests that are all fit into the canon, like Deep in the Heart of Texas, where you can also hear Michael playing a completely different character in one of the funniest sequences in an office building we've ever played.
Oh my Lord. Yeah.
So that's like a 4-episode run that we recorded all in one day and divided into 4 episodes. There's a lot of good stuff out there. So yeah, catch up on our stuff while you're waiting for us to come back. We've got loads of content for you. Again, give us a subscribe, like, all that stuff anywhere you go. I will be at Gamers Heaven tomorrow running Identico, so if you would like to play some Identico, you can come tomorrow at 6 p.m. Pacific. Kaylee, where can we find you on the internets?
You can find me at redemptionpodcast.com, where the Redemption Podcast is on hiatus until the fall, but we are still there and we still have all of our back episodes. You can also find me on Twitter at AnimeGirl, ANIMEIGRRL, and you usually can find me on Chaos Inc., but we're also on hiatus, so I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Apparently I've got some games coming up with Rook and Rasp, doing some of their Seriously Let's Plays coming up later this month, so I'll post those on my Twitter once I have firm dates on them.
And Michael, where can we find you in the interim?
You can find me on social media at LoserMLW, on the Twitters and the Instagrams and all that stuff. You can see me also on productions over at the Rook and Rasp Twitch channel. That's at Rook and Rasp, or Twitch TV Rook and Rasp, where I'll be playing a husky doggo named London for the next few weeks on Tuesday nights from 7 to 10 p.m. For a game called Heckin' Good Doggos, which is a Kickstarter venture. And I'll be over there doing other things as well, kind of like Kaylee is. So here and there, we found another fun home on the internet.
There you go. And that's what we're all looking for, is more funs on the internet.
More fun homes.
Yes.
Fun homes.
All right, everybody. Once again, I am Alex the Humanoid. That is where you can find me everywhere, at Alex the Humanoid. Thank you for joining us. We love you, and good night. Bye.
Bye.